What's up everybody, blessed be. My name is Manon and you're watching Witch in the Working, where we will be talking about all things witchy in and around, throughout and about, above, below, and beyond. So, hey, I finally got to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I never really expected to get that far with this. It's awesome to see everybody who's been subscribing and everything. Thank you so much again. So, obviously, you're a witch. What is one of the things a witch does is cast spells, of course. Whether for healing, prosperity, love, peace, to get a job, calming, binding, cursing, hexing, etc., etc. I mean, we do it all. So how do we go about working these spells, and what are the checks and balances and do's and don'ts? Well, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to show you a great prosperity spell at the end of this video. So let's get into it. Roll the intro. Welcome back everybody. So let's get real. A lot of what attracts people to witchcraft today is the mystery, the sense of dabbling with otherworldly forces, the wonder and curiosity as to pushing your limits with energies you have or wish to achieve. The rites and rituals that pound in your heart with every breath the earth takes, you feel it in your soul. That calling from the old gods, and of course, the actions, chants, and gestures that bring about change and development in yours and others' lives utilizing magic called spells. So what is magic? Magic, according to one of the greatest occultists of all time, Aleister Crowley, and whether you agree with him or not, he stated magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. What is the science behind magic? It's yet still unknown, leaving this mystery of occultism exactly that, still a mystery. So no one really knows why magic works, we just know that it does. At some point we may figure it out and maybe even improve and expound upon its development, but for now we know how to raise it, program it, and release it to the universe. From there, the mysteries of how and why become its own creature. Witches and magicians have utilized this practice for centuries, and the only thing we can walk away with is we know that it works. There have been many mysteries throughout the centuries that have later come to light, and perhaps someday magic will too. For instance, there was a time not so long ago that lightning, another completely natural act, was a huge mystery, and people thought it an act of the gods, both creating and destroying at the same time. A powerful force of the most extreme that proved the gods existed, and this force from the heavens was nothing less than the gods and goddesses showing their gratitude and or wrath. Come to find out, centuries later, that lightning, albeit as far as a witch is concerned, still a massive show of force from the gods, is actually simply a naturally occurring electrostatic discharge during which two electrically charged regions in the atmosphere or ground temporarily equalize themselves, causing the instantaneous relief of as much as 1 gigajoule of energy. Yup, it took a while, but this active nature in magic has been explained scientifically. Magic has also been described as science that is yet to be discovered. So what is the difference between black magic and white magic? There is no such thing as black and white magic. Magic is magic. What we do with the magic is constructive or destructive, positive or negative, good or bad. We are the interpreter of what we do with magic. For instance, a knife is awesome. We use it to cut our food, open boxes, help with utilitarian acts around the homes, harvest herbs, carve candles, etc., etc. What a wonderful tool that does so much good because we use it for good things. This knife can also very, very easily be used to kill someone or something with the utmost of simplicity. Now it's a tool of terror and death. How quickly and easily the energy is changed from one side of the spectrum to the other in the blink of an eye. Is this the knife's fault? No, it's the person utilizing the knife that causes a circumstance and benevolent or malevolent use of this tool. The person decides whether the knife is a tool of fortune or a tool of harm or death. Magic is no different. The witch or magician decides whether the energy he or she raises is utilized as a tool of benevolence or a messenger of negativity and harm. The magic is just like in life. It's just simply is, neutral, awaiting instructions by its wielder. To be a white witch and a black witch is the same situation. There are no white and black witches, magically speaking, of course. There are just witches. You can be a good person or a bad person, that's your call, but the additional colorful adjective is a misconception and most likely a term of propaganda established by the more Abrahamic institutions that exist today. So in the end, magic is magic, and what you do with it is your choice and your consequences and responsibility. So what do I mean by my consequences and responsibilities? Well, it's a simple fact of life. Every action has a reaction. So in Wicca, a religio magic that incorporates witchcraft in its structure, we have a saying, and it harm none, do as you will. This is simply a guideline that some Wiccans live by, and in essence is a simple one-liner that wraps up the 10 Commandments in one easy saying. What does it mean? Just as it says, live life and do your best not to hurt anyone or anything, because every negative action we project will in fact have a reaction in the future that may or may not involve our own existence. This doesn't by any means interpret that a Wiccan walks around with love and light glow about them, with rainbows and unicorns dancing around their auras, turning the other cheek against all adversaries and just taking it up the proverbial ass. No. Not at all. It just means that we as Wiccans understand that there are consequences and responsibilities to all of our actions, and whatever we decide to do in life, whether good or bad, we accept that responsibility of any and all blowback from the universe. And the universe has a way with dealing with this blowback or backlash, so to speak. Trust me on this. This coincides with another Wiccan belief, which is the threefold law of retribution. This basically states that whatever we put out there to the universe, whatever action we institute, whether good or bad, positive or negative, will ultimately return and sometimes much more intense than originally sent out. This doesn't mean that if you kick someone in the shin, that means you're going to end up with a broken leg. It just means that whatever energy you project again is going to have a response, action, and reaction. Again, I've said it before. Don't let this saying fool you, and it harm none, do as you will. Yes, this is a Wiccan read, but it by no means is meant to dismiss a Wiccan as a passive, turn the other cheek witch. I can assure you that with any Wiccan I know, that is absolutely not the case, and I pity the poor soul who invokes the wrath of a traditional Wiccan. What is a spell? A spell is a designed and organized procedure that usually involves tools and or props, chants and gestures that a witch, magician, or any person of magic utilizes in conjunction with magic to again cause conformity and change with their will. So a spell is basically a planned idea that's empowered with magic to achieve a goal. Some spells are age-old and have a lot of integrity and grit and power behind them, and some spells are made up on the spot and they have a lot of integrity, grit, and power behind them. There are thousands of spells that can be found on the internet and in books. There are spells for protection, money, love, binding, prosperity, health, crossing, uncrossing, safe journeys. I mean, I could go on for the next 10 minutes, but you get the picture. You name it, there's a spell for it. None of these spells mean shit if you don't know what you're doing and know how to put the proper forces in motion to carry your energy to its proper destination. Simply doing a spell from a book doesn't mean it's gonna work. You gotta put the batteries in correctly, so to speak, and flip the right switches. I'm gonna get into explaining how to execute a spell correctly shortly, but first I wanna talk a little bit more about types of spells. Whether you're working with a coven or as a solitaire witch or magician, spell work is your goddess-given right and practice. Some spells are done with lots of tools and props, and some spells are done with none at all. The latter mostly being done within coven work, where a group of witches will dance and raise energy and then project it to the universe. A power in numbers situation, so to speak. A lot of magic also utilizes props such as candles, coins, poppets, sachets, talismans, amulets, bottles, jars, hair, nails, pins, needles, cauldrons, mirrors. I mean, a spell can use anything you find in a common household throughout the centuries. These items are exactly that, however, props. Props that help the witch or magician get into the proper mind frame to achieve their goal of raising, programming, and sending out their magic to the universe. There are many reasons to want to cast a spell, and each circumstance has its own set of ideas and concerns. I'll talk a little about the more common magics briefly, but by all means, each of these could constitute an entire video of their own. Protection magic. This type of magic is used to protect someone or something from someone or something, whether it be magically, psychically, or physically. Most of the time, this type of magic will involve a talisman or amulet of some sort that will be enchanted and then either worn or placed somewhere in the home, for instance, to help guard against negativity that is thought to be active or on its way. Talismans are objects that are natural or not natural, that are enchanted and sometimes inscribed for a specific purpose and then utilized to project or emanate this protective energy as needed. Amulets are very much like talismans, except they usually also incorporate or include a natural stone or metal of some sort, which helps emanate that protective force as well. See my link above for some other protection magic ideas, and I also have it linked in the description below. Healing magic is one of the most popular and utilized magics in coven work. Healing magic especially tends to have a great success rate when especially performed in numbers with multiple witches raising energy and projecting to a common goal. One of the most important things to remember in healing magic, and in fact in most magic, is to get the person's permission before working magic on them. Even a person who's sick or needs healing may not want your help in doing so, especially if that person is not privy to magic being sent their way. On some cases, this circumstance of permission is obsolete. In the case of a child or pet, for instance, where you're magically responsible for that being, and it's up to you to make that responsible call. And in some situations, you just need to make the call. For instance, if someone is deathly sick and can't respond to your permission request. Love magic. This reason for magic is quite controversial. You should never bend someone's will to meet your own. To cast this type of magic on someone to make them fall in love or lust with you is bending their will, and you might as well be cursing them. This person may not want to be with you, and to force them or attempt to force them otherwise is a huge flat out magical no-no. Does that mean no one does it? Of course not. People do it all the time. I myself have been a victim of this type of magic. I can tell you one thing though, it will never last. Love, true love, trumps all, and no level of magic can hold false love in place for long. On the other hand, there are also love spells and intentions that two people will do to enhance and strengthen their already deeply involved relationship. This is a different circumstance of love magic, and most always between two consenting people, and is most powerful and looked kindly upon. Prosperity or money spells. This type of working, again, almost always involves some sort of props and oftentimes coins and candles. Prosperity spells are very common and probably the most popular spells to be utilized in a solitaire sense. One of the important things to remember when working prosperity spells is to be very specific when working this type of magic, as magic always takes the easiest path to its destination, a lot like water does. So the last thing you want is to collect prosperity or money by way of an inheritance, for instance, or I don't know, maybe you do want that, but that's your decision. I'll be demonstrating an old money spell at the end of this video. Binding spells, again, a very controversial working amongst many. To bind someone is to prevent them from doing harm to themselves and or to others. You can see where the controversy is here, as you're binding someone against their will, but at the same time protecting this said person from harming themselves or others. Kind of a moral dilemma. No one said witchcraft was absent of its decisional stresses, people, so deal with it. But in the end, a reality. And it's done every day in magic. I've done it myself multiple times. Many times this type of magic will involve a poppet in some of the bindee's DNA. A poppet is basically a voodoo doll. That's the best way to describe it, as everyone knows what a voodoo doll is. A poppet is the witchy term for this though. The DNA, hair, nails, etc. is to show the magic that this is the person you're dealing with. It is their personal energy. Cursing, hexing, and jinxing, all very different, but I'll speak briefly on these things as they constitute their own video by far. These are all acts that are of negative intention for the most part and really should be avoided. This being said, they are done on a daily basis by witches around the globe and is a complete reality and fact. Again, this has to do with your moral compass and you do you. Just remember that it's up to you to accept that responsibility when your action demands a reaction. So how do we perform spells correctly? By creating the magic involved with them correctly. To create magic, you must do three things: create energy, program that energy, and release the energy. Creating the energy can be done numerous ways, but it literally involves generating energy that you would generate, for instance, dancing or chanting or drumming, for instance. You're creating heat energy, so to speak, and in essence, this is a neutral and very real energy that witches gather from the earth around them and contain it. How is this energy contained in a magic circle? Draw a simple circle around yourself in your immediate working area before you do your spell. Try and physically mark it out so you have a definite sense of its boundaries. This will help your own psyche for the spell work. Next, program this energy. This is the most difficult part because you need to keep your mind focused on your goal at hand. It's best to focus and keep in your mind the outcome of your goal, not the process of getting there. If you're doing a healing, see the person happy and healthy, enjoying time with their family, not lying in a bed trying to get better. This is telling the magic who, what, when, where, why, and how to do its job, in essence, programming the energy. Finally, release the energy. Stop your dancing, drumming, chanting, whatever you are doing to raise the energy, and place your hands up to the universe or over the prop, the candle or poppet or sachet, for instance, and visualize all of the energy you raised and programmed now flowing into or out to its destination. When you're done, you're done. Don't dwell on it or wonder if it worked. If you have any doubt that your magic will be successful, then don't even bother doing it. Don't waste your time. You have to know and have the confidence that your spell is going to work. Don't talk about it after the fact. Just let it do its thing. Please watch my video on raising, programming, and sending energy linked above, called The Power of a Witch, and I also have it linked in the description below. Finally, one last thing is timing. Many witches like to correspond their spells and working with timing. This means the moon phases. When working with a spell to bring something into fruition from nothing, it's best to work your spell during a waxing moon. A waxing moon is when the moon is growing fatter from a new moon towards a full moon. If you're working magic to be rid of something, for instance, weight loss or ridding of an illness or bad habit, work this spell on a waning moon. A waning moon is when the moon is diminishing from a full moon towards a new moon, getting darker and darker, fading away. For a big bang and ultimate gain, do a spell on a full moon or within 3 days up to that full moon, as this is a super powerful punch to your mainly constructive spells. For your destructive spells, which can be ridding a sickness, for instance, the big bang and ultimate power for the destructive spell is on a new moon, when the moon is absent from the sky for that one evening. I'm going to show you an old prosperity spell called Money Spell of the Old Grey Witch. From out of the pages of a musty spellbook, left in a corner alone and forsook, comes this tidy little money spell to improve thy finances and keep thee well. On Jove's her soul's bright morning hour, as Luna increases thy candle power, arrange 7 bright coins in the form of a cross to preserve thy estate and keep thee from loss. Place a candle at all of the ends, each a message to the power sends. Candles of red thou must never disparage, they signal money by a profitable marriage. Candles of white never disdain, they signal money through business gain. Candles of black also have merit, they signal the idea of property to inherit. Dress each candle with an abundance oil to scent the air and poverty spoil. Light them in a clockwise motion and say these words with deep emotion. Money to spend, money to lend, money to release, money to increase. Money, money piling up, money, money filling my cup. Draw money unto me as I do will, so mote it be. Repeat this charm 9 times in all to steal thy spell and bring in a haul. Concentrate on thy prosperous estate till the candles burn out and suffocate. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Witch Into Working. Do you cast spells? What do you do? What's your favorite? Do you have anything to add or correct that I may have spoken about? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be reminded of future episodes to come. I love you guys and gals. See you all next week. Blessed be.